Corruption is a serious problem that is deeply rooted within the United States. Officials, like most people, desire money and have the power to sway the country to make it. Accepting bribes, taking advantage of inside knowledge, and passing legislation helps them accumulate their wealth as they secure their positions further with their power. The U.S. government is filled with corruption, and both voters and their votes are heavily manipulated from beginning to end. Corrupt politicians stay in power by disabling the voters that oppose their policy. Specific age groups are targeted to decrease their chances of voting. In the 2018 election, voters between 18 and 29 had a 25% lower turnout rate than those who were 70 and older. They target the groups by changing specific parts of the United States. For example, jobs. Election days are not public holidays, so not everyone can take off work to vote. And a lot of older people are retired, so it doesn't affect them. Politicians make voting against the grain seem useless, thus decreasing the chances that younger people will want to vote. Pre-registration isn't just another obstacle to get in people's way. Specific groups can even be legally suppressed. For example, in Richard Nixon's administration, he began the war on drugs. John Ehrlichman, one of Richard Nixon's counsels on domestic policy, said, "We know we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or black, but by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities. We could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news." Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did. Laws such as the prevention of felons from voting continue to suppress many voters. More whites do illegal drugs than blacks, but more blacks end up as felons from doing illegal drugs, and thus end up unable to vote, systematically targeting and suppressing a group of voters. After these restricted votes are in, they manipulate them even further. Gerrymandering begins. Gerrymandering is the manipulation of the boundaries of a district so as to favor one party or class, and it can considerably influence elections. Gerrymandering skews voters' votes. For example, if you take a state with 40% of people voting Republican and 60% voting Democrat, limited to 5 districts, the results can be heavily manipulated. If Democrats are in control of the districts, they can make 5 Democratic districts and 0 Republican districts. If Republicans are controlling the districts, 3 Republican districts can be created and 2 Democratic districts could be created, whereas equal representation would be 2 Republican districts and 3 Democratic districts. Then there's the Electoral College, which has a couple of issues with it. Firstly, 48 of the 50 states have a winner-take-all system, which award electoral votes on a winner-takes-all basis, including the District of Columbia. For example, all of 55 of California's electoral votes go to the winner of the elected state, even if the margin of victory is only 50.1% to 49.9%. Unequal vote count is another aspect of Electoral College. Each individual vote in Wyoming counts nearly 4 times as much in the Electoral College as each individual vote in Texas. And then there's the ignoring of the public outright. Because the people that are elected to represent us in the Electoral College don't have to vote for you, who you want, even if you do win. This amount of corruption leads to a bunch of different effects. Insider trading is one. U.S. senators' portfolios made about 16% more than average households in the 1990s. Members of Congress were routinely exploiting legal loopholes to engage in insider trading and line their own pockets. After the study came out, President Obama signed the Stop Trading on Congressional Knowledge Act into law, increasing transparency when it comes to insider trading, making it much easier to detect. However, after 1 year, it got amended by Congress, reinstituting the loophole that continues to be abused to this stage. Lobbying. Lobbying is extremely common within the U.S. government. Megacorporations use money as a way to bribe congressmen in charge of an issue that affects them to promote their own interests. In return, the megacorps make even more money through that deregulation to continue giving donors. If you are not in the top 10% of income earners in the US, those who make well over $100,000 per year, you have a 30% chance of your idea becoming law, no matter the support level nationwide. On the other hand, if you do have the money to use for lobbying, you actually can make an impact on the outcome. The last thing is misrepresentation. The preferences of the average American appear to have only a minuscule, near zero, statistically non-significant impact upon public policy. The US government is filled with corruption, and both voters and their votes are heavily manipulated from beginning to end.